Hey folks, it's Dennis from Aspen Thicket Grouse Dogs. Here today I'm going to do a short little video on collar conditioning your dog to an e-collar. I've been getting some requests from folks that I sold the puppies to last year for a little bit of help on that, so I figured I'd go ahead and put together a video for folks to take a look at. As far as the equipment we're going to use, go ahead and switch this around. We will be using a crate, a check cord, and then an e-collar is what we will eventually work our way into. But it's important to remember a couple of things before I get started on this. First and foremost, get yourself a decent e-collar. Decide whether you're going to use it for training or if you're going to use it for training and hunting. And that could be a whole nother video discussion. I'd be happy to speak with anyone about that. But typically for training, you don't need much of an e-collar. For the training, I use DT systems. Right here, it's like a train and beep type model. And it works really good, and you could even use that one for hunting as well. Also use some of the old Tritronics and the Garmin stuff. You can use the smaller stuff for training because you're basically just doing it in the yard. And then if you use an Alpha or one of the other trackers on top of that, you know, that's actually what you would use for hunting. But, you know, like I said, that's a whole nother discussion. Anyhow, we have a crate, we have a check cord, okay? We have a e-collar and transmitter, and then we're going to go get a dog. Now, when you do this process, it's really important that you get your dog desensitized, per se, to wearing the e-collar. What I mean by that is you want to have your dog wearing that e-collar with it turned off for a couple of weeks. Not all day. Use common sense, right? You know, if you let the dog go outside or you go do fun stuff, or you know, eventually where you're going to need to have control of your dog, put the e-collar on them. If you go outside to go have fun for a little bit, you go for a walk in the woods, you go for a walk, whatever you're going to do, put the e-collar on the dog, don't have it turned on, and do that for a couple weeks so the dog gets used to wearing the e-collar. The reason we do this is because you don't want to put an e-collar on the dog the first time and then go to start teaching the dog to turn off stimulation with the e-collar, because eventually what you're going to end up with is a dog that only minds when he has the e-collar on. If you let them wear it for a while ahead of time, what happens is they totally forget about wearing it. It becomes part of their regular routine, and they don't have the ability to reason. So later on when you go to use it, they think it's magic rather than that collar you have on their neck. So I'm going to go ahead and pause here, and then I'm going to get set up, and I'm going to bring Scout in, and we're going to talk a little bit about how we go ahead and do this process. All right, guys, we got Gypsy here. Okay, Gypsy is a year-old now. Okay, and we're going to go through the process of collar conditioning with her. I'm going to remind you, okay, like I said in the beginning of the video, the dog should have had on the e-collar for 2 weeks, okay? And it should know how to do the kennel command, okay? And you can teach the kennel command with treats, but basically all you want is the dog to go in and out of the kennel. So, for instance, come on, Gyps, you can have a treat, and you can say, here, Gypsy, here, again. No, go in the kennel and say, kennel, and she'll go in there, right? And then you can have that treat, you can say, kennel, and she'll go in there, all right? And you teach her to go in the kennel. Okay, once you have the dog doing that, then we're going to go to that lowest stimulation level possible that they understand, okay? Now, when I go through this video, every time I raise this, I'm going to be turning the stimulation on. All right? Now, I had learned this method some time ago. I believe it was through watching George Hickox and my good friend Bob Ross, who mentored me in this years ago, had taught me this method that we're going to use, okay? And it's a three-phase method, all right? It's stimulation, then command, then stimulation, and then command, then stimulation, okay? And Gypsy. All right, the reason that we do that phase is you're first teaching them how to turn the stimulation off, okay? You're taking a known command, applying stimulation, all right? Given that known command, then they go in, they follow that command, the stimulation goes off, okay? This is a command now you're teaching them how to do it with the stimulation. The second phase, you use stimulation only. The third phase, you give the command, you give stimulation. Basically because they can't reason, it kind of races their brain a little bit so that every time you hit the e-collar, they don't go run into a kennel. And it's important that we use the kennel command first when we're doing this, because we are teaching our dogs to go away from us with stimulation, okay? A lot of people like to teach the come command first. Gypsy. They like to teach the come command first. And if you teach that command first, guess what? If your dog doesn't understand it or you don't do it right, every time you hit the e-collar, the dog's going to come running to you. All right? That's not going to do you any good if you're doing steadiness training and stuff like that later on. Okay? So we're going to go through the process. All right? We're assuming the dog knows kennel. Come on, Gypsy. Kennel, kennel, kennel. Kennel, 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 kennel. Kennel, kennel. Good girl. Come on. Come on. Good girl. Gypsy. Kennel, kennel. She's confused. Kennel. She knows what it is. She just likes to go on the top. Come on, Gypsy. Kennel, kennel. Good girl. Good girl. And that's good you see that because some of that might come up. She knows this command. She just wants to jump on top. Gypsy, kennel, kennel, kennel. All right, good. So now we absolutely know what kennel means. Now we're going to overlay the stimulation. All right? I'm going to stimulate. Kennel. She goes in. Good girl. Come on. All right? Every time it goes up, I'm stimulating. Kennel. She goes in. Good girl. Come on. Come on. Let's make it up. Good girl. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Kennel. Good girl. Come on. Good girl. One more time. One more time. Come on. Come on. Come on. Kennel. Good dog. Okay. All right. Gypsy. Good. Good. Good dog. Good dog. Okay, so that was phase one. It is the stimulation, then the command. All right? We're teaching her how to turn off stimulation by going in that kennel. It just so happens that we taught her the kennel command first. Okay? Now we're going to proof it. So I'm going to do one more time where I'm going to do the stimulation, then the command. And then I want you to watch. I'm going to do a couple times where I'm not going to give any command, but I'm going to use stimulation. You ready? Come on. Come on. Kennel. Oh, girl. Come on. Come on. Oh, good girl, Gypsy. Come on. Come on. Come on. Good girl. Not using any command. Come on, good girl. Good girl. Yeah. Good girl. Good girl, Gyps. Come on, Gyp. Come on, Gyp. Good girl. Good girl. Come on. Come on. All right, what I did there is I proofed her to the point, that she knows how to turn off that stimulation. Okay? She goes in there, the stimulation turns off. And it's not hurting her. It's a low-level stimulation. Yeah, she can come up, you big baby. All right, now we're going to go back and erase that kennel with the stimulation of turning off by simply giving a command and then just reinforcing the command with the stimulation. Okay, ready? Ready? Kennel? Good girl, come on. Come on. All right, kennel? Good girl, come. Oh, good. Okay, now, essentially what we've done there throughout this process is something that should take you at least a week to do with your dog. Okay, you want to go in short sessions. Say the first session, you use the stimulation then command and you get them working on it about 3 or 4 times or so. Good, you're done for the day. All right, put them up, bring them back later in the night or the next day. Okay, same thing, stimulation then command. All right, After that, all right, you're getting antsy. Hey, stimulation and command, then just go to the stimulation, okay? You're going to have to be able to read the dog to see how they're doing this and using the lowest level of stimulation. All right? And then maybe you go to the third session. All right, you are such a big baby. You go to the third session, and then you have the stimulation, then the command, then the stimulation, then the command, and then the stimulation. All right? And by doing all of that through those phases, you've introduced your dog to an e-collar. You've introduced it to them while going away from you, so you don't have any problems later on where if they get confused, they come running back to you because of an e-collar. And you did it at the lowest level possible in a training method. And then you kind of erased everything at the end by making it associated with a command. For every command that you want to teach your dog, this is exactly how you would do the e-collar. If you want to teach your dog to turn in the woods, okay, you have it on a check collar, you tug, hup, tug, hup. You get to the point where you replace the tug before the hup with the e-collar, and that's how you learn to bend your dog in the woods. And then later on, you can work that stuff on no or whatever it may be. Right, girl? Sweetie? You know, I love you too. So, there's your short intro on it. Okay, take your time. Leave some comments if you have questions. Give me a text, whatever. Be happy to work you through it. If you need some help above and beyond that, as always, you can call me at the kennel phone number. I'd be happy to help you with your dogs. Please check out DT Systems. They seem to work pretty good for us. And thanks for tuning in. All right, take care. Ready to go, girl? Let's go. Yep.